Welcome inside the Villa Parlour on Premier League Eve. Can you believe we're finally about to talk about games? Oh, thank goodness. And look at me. In my 1986 Henson second strip, I've been chasing this sucker down since I was 17 years of age, and I want to send a huge thanks to Justin Hawthorne of the Up the Villa podcast, who knew a guy doing dodgy kit deals in the tough back alleys of Cannock. Don't you get the Andy Gray vibes seeing this, though? Although you'd never catch me in those alarmingly tight shorts. To celebrate this occasion and the coming of the season, I'm pouring a classic Brew Laddie for me and Austin McGee. And that's a really cool distillery because it's recently had a lot of new life breathed into it, much like our Aston Villa. So let's get going. Let's preview the 2021-2022 season and the 6 big questions around our beloved Aston Villa. Hello there. I've been asked by one or two of you to comment on Grealish. So I will keep this very concise, because you've probably heard it all by now. I will miss the footballer, but I absolutely will not miss the yearly will he, won't he stay drama. And I have zero time whatsoever for the complete and utter lack of professionalism off the field at times for a guy who wore the club's armband. I have a lot of respect for Sir Alex, and he had a very good policy at United. He said, when a player gets too big for the club, you get rid. And it worked out pretty well for him. I'm more excited about what's to come. So that brings us to the Holy Trinity season preview and the 6 big questions heading into the new year. And we'll start with an honorable mention. Who should be captain? And the clear and obvious choice is the current vocal leader of the group, Tyrone Mings. I'm very impressed with this man because he's articulate, well-spoken, thoughtful, and he has all the qualities to be an exemplary captain and club role model. This is not a guy who would break COVID protocol, go out on the piss, and then smash his car into several others before being banned from driving. He has a very high moral compass, but he's also still evolving as a leader. And I'm so impressed that he laid his vulnerabilities bare during the summer by talking about his noisy mind during the Euros and seeking professional guidance to learn techniques on how to cope with it. I mean, this is the sign of a very intelligent and self-aware human being. Oh, and by the way, he's taking piano and jiu-jitsu lessons because he wants to challenge himself and learn new things. It says it all. Now, the argument could be made, well, he's already the leader, both vocally and in the dressing room. Do you need to put an armband on him to symbolize it? Might that actually add some unnecessary scrutiny to a player who some Villa fans are always saying, well, he's just one big mistake away from costing us a game? All players are a mistake away from costing a game. It's just that defenders and goalkeepers get punished more. I personally think this past summer will have a hugely positive effect on Tyrone Mings. He will have grown in confidence. He will have grown as a leader, and he's the no-brainer choice. Now, if you wanted a backup option, you'd probably want somebody who was an ever-present on the field but was committed to the cause long-term, which means you might want to lock him down to a new long-term contract. I'm talking, of course, about Emi Martinez, who I call the penalty whisperer. I mean, here's a guy who trash-talked his nation to a Confederate title and in the process helped one of the game's legends achieve his dream. You couldn't go wrong with Emi. And with the stable of players Aston Villa has, when you chuck in Ashley Young and Danny Ings, Villa Park's locker room will be a very accountable place. Number 6. How will Villa line up this coming season? I think the rise of the EA FIFA franchise, fantasy football and gaming has given us this obsession over formations and armchair football fanatics who talk about, who's playing 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1 and what's the difference between a 4-4-2 and a 4-4-1-1, and it goes on and on and on. I had a professional manager once tell me, you media guys have no idea what you're talking about with formations. It's a graphic that you put on TV, but it's actually just starting positions. You spend too much time obsessing over it. The truth about formations is this: they are starting positions. That's it. What really matters is what happens when you are either suddenly in possession or suddenly out of possession. Do you know your systems and your responsibilities so that you can cover the correct ground? Now, Aston Villa has recruited some very talented, intelligent, and versatile players in this window. Players that can spot the vulnerability in the front third in their opponent, and also what's happening behind them and whether there's an issue in shape. And so they're able to adapt. And this is what's exciting about this particular group, is they will be interchanging positions all the time in the front third. And I don't see Dean Smith as the type of manager who's going to have some kind of rigid formation where if you're the right-sided player, you must remain in that right-sided channel or you're going to hear about it at halftime. That's not how it works. It's about intelligent players who can read the game now. And that's going to be a very different type of Aston Villa. When you look at this, you could see how this is a 4-2-3-1, but could very easily morph into a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1. The new one is 4-2-2-2, and then you could probably even see how it becomes a 4-3-3. The biggest departure would be a 3-5-2 if they tried that. The one thing we do know is that Ollie Watkins is going to play as the 9 up front because he instigates the press maybe better than any other striker in football. Coming in behind him, though, Danny Ings loves to play in the pocket, as he told us, as a number 10, because he can run at defenders, combine with his teammates, and then arrive late in the box, kind of like how he did in the game on Sunday to score a great goal. You have Leon Bailey, who could be a lefty playing on the left side of those three. And then you have Emi Buendia, who could be a righty playing on the right side of that three. But those two players are so two-footed, they could switch sides and become inverted wingers. And of course, Buendia will often drift into here, and Bailey can even play up front. Now imagine having his pace up front when you're playing against a team that likes to risk things with a high line. Fill your boots and good luck, I say. So in the context I just showed you, essentially, Danny Ings is this year's Ross Barkley, only better at every single aspect of his game, including supporting the press that Ollie Watkins initiates and working hard at that, combining with teammates, running at defenders, shooting from distance, arriving late in the box and scoring goals, leadership. And if you really want to have some fun, why don't we compare these new recruits and slot them into the lineup in the 7-2 win over Liverpool at home? You've got Bailey in for Grealish, Ings in for Barkley, and Buendia in for Trezeguet. That's an upgrade. And we may still have another central midfielder coming in before the window closes. I should check my phone right now because the rumors have been going crazy. Now, obviously, you can't compare Leon Bailey of today against Jack Grealish of today. But you can probably compare Leon Bailey of today against Jack Grealish of 3 years ago when he was 23 and 24 and playing in the championship during the promotion year, a year when he scored 6 and assisted 8 from 34 championship games, whereas Leon Bailey this year scored 9 and assisted 9 from just 30 Bundesliga games. Two totally different kinds of leagues. The Bundesliga is better. Two totally different kinds of players in similar-ish positions. But Leon Bailey contributed to more goals as a 23, 24-year-old than Jack Grealish did back then. And let's be honest, Leon Bailey is way faster today than Grealish was 3 years ago. And imagine if he gets the right players around him and the good coaching that you know he'll get. The sky, as they say, is the limit. And what I love about the guy is he said in his interview, I enjoy setting up my teammates for easy tap-ins. So imagine he's gone on a 60-yard run where he's beaten 4 guys. And then when he's tasked with deciding, do I go for glory and make the highlight reels or square it up for the easier option for one of my teammates? Why, he chooses the easier tap-in option over here. How refreshing. Number 5. How many goals will Ings and Watkins combine for this year? I was planning to do this show a long time ago, and I'm thinking about Ollie Watkins, and setting an over-under at about 20 goals would be fantastic. But think about it. He had 14 last year. He hit the woodwork 7 times, including the penalty at West Ham, and I'm pretty sure he had at least 2, if not 3, laser line VAR decisions go against him. So he's bound to cash in and improve this year. He's also going to become a daddy, which is going to be an amazing life experience for him. But now that Danny Ings is here, is that going to take goals away from him? Will it add to it? I don't know what to think. 30 goals between them would be amazing, whether that's 20, 10, 11, that's a lot of goals, considering you're also going to get contributions from either side and substitutes. But that would be a fantastic goal haul for the two of them. And something else has been bothering me because I'm kind of like Sean Dyche. I love a good lookie-likey. Who does Danny Ings remind you of? It's been bothering me for a long time, and then I finally got it. Peter Dinklage. Don't you think? No? Okay, but could you see Danny Ings as a Game of Thrones character? Yes, you could. Big question number 4. How will we judge Austin McPhee's influence on Aston Villa? It's a big shout to bring in a set-piece coach. It's going to put a little bit of pressure on him, too, to improve the metrics. But his job is to improve the output from free kicks and corners while also improving the defensive work from the same. And he's also tasked with restarts from throw-ins, which has become this nouveau chic thing that teams around the world are working on. Having looked at Villa's statistics, though, I was actually surprised. I thought they were worse on the attacking front and the defensive end. But in fact, Villa scored 11 goals from corners and free kicks. And to give you an idea of who was the best, it was West Ham at 16 and Southampton 15, 2 of which came against Villa at Villa Park through James Ward-Prowse. And then at the defensive end, when you consider those 2 goals, they allowed just 7 goals from set pieces, 2 from Southampton there. And only City and Arsenal conceded fewer. Leeds had 15 shipped on defensive free kicks. So there's the benchmark. Now, can Aston Villa and can Austin McPhee eke out 1, 2, or maybe even 3 more goals at the attacking end and concede 1 to 2 less? Because if they do, then that will certainly translate into points on the ledger. Number 3, how is Villa going to deal with teams that bunker? Ah, yes, a problem often last year and years past. A great example, the game at Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, where Villa went behind and suddenly they were faced with 2 double-decker buses parked in front of them. And this was a problem with or without Grealish, but the options are quite simple. You either go around, through, or over. And in Emi Buendia, Aston Villa now has a player that can go through the lines of confrontation. And not only can he spot the pass, but can then hit them with the perfect weight, as we saw a couple of times in preseason. Danny Ings, as I mentioned, loves to combine with his teammates. He will attract attention away and also has the long shot option. We saw that at home versus Southampton when he absolutely uncorked one from about 24 yards. So he has that in his locker, which you have to respect. And then you've got Leon Bailey, who can also run through, but with his pace, get around. And what they really need is somebody who can then play the long diagonals. We've seen that with John McGinn, and maybe we'll see it with a new incoming player. Maybe that new player might be Morgan Sanson. But here's the key in getting around teams that bunker. The fullbacks, the 2 Matts, Targett and Cash, are going to have to help on the overloads. We know Matt Targett is capable of it. What a year he had last year. Imagine if he cracks on. And then there's Matthew Cash. If Cash can make the same step forward that Target did last year, and we saw a glimpse in the final preseason tune-up last Sunday where he made the run to the byline and cut it back. It's what we've wanted to see so much, laid it on a plate for Ashley Young. If we see that Matt Cash overloading on the right side, it's going to be much harder for teams to just sit in. But the other thing Aston Villa needs is meaningful contributions off the bench. And in Ashley Young and in Bertrand Traore, they have two players here who are not only going to push hard for starting minutes, but also provide something hopefully a little bit extra against tired legs. Bertrand Traore feels like a forgotten man to me right now, and he's got the AFCONs coming up in January with Burkina Faso. And so this is a big year for him. And remember, he had that surgery not so long ago to repair his groin, which was bugging him pretty badly since January, and he still managed to score some of the most sublime goals that I've ever seen, which leads me to believe that Bertrand Traore is in fact a wizard. Because how else could you turn Sam Johnson into a stone statue right before our eyes? And that's exactly what he did at West Bromwich Albion. And then remember at home to Manchester United, he threaded the needle from 20 yards with his eyes closed. Wizards do that kind of stuff, and other Premier League clubs are going to start to complain. You can't have a wizard on your team. That's not fair. This isn't Quidditch. And just imagine for a moment, you've got Buendia and Bailey running at fullbacks, bamboozling them, violating them. And just when they think that their pride couldn't be destroyed any further, up steps at 65 to 70 minutes a fresh-legged wizard to destroy what's left of your dignity. Bertrand Traore and Ashley Young are not here to make up the numbers. They are slightly under the radar, and they are going to train hard to get first-team minutes, and that will make the entire squad better. Number 2, what do you do with Carney and Jayden? I'm talking about Chukwuemeka and Philodine Bidace. Two players who every single Premier League commentator do not want to be part of the season. These two players have been the cream of the academy crop, and they have risen to the top. Philodine Bidace with a very, very skillful and high degree of difficulty assist on the Danny Ings goal. Carney Chukwuemeka coming on and gliding around, making the right decisions, making good passes, going past people. Both these players run so effortlessly. Oh, to be able to run like that. Now, everything in my footballing sensibility tells me that these two lads must play with and against adults week in and week out, 90 minutes. And they need to be in a supportive but challenging environment. And there would be a long list of clubs that would line up to have players like that in their squad, especially in this economic climate. But every once in a while, a couple of young men come around that when provided with the challenge of the highest level, they meet and sometimes even exceed that level. Now, did Carney and Jayden get some assurances of first-team football? I think Carney did. So let's hope that the bit part work that he's going to have to play this year will keep him hungry, keep him challenged, and keep him growing. And the number one question heading into this new season, where will Villa finish? It's the $1 million question, and the reason why you're watching this show. And the only way you can really figure that out is looking at the clubs that are just ahead of them in the table and looking at what kind of transfer business they did. Well, for Aston Villa, they weren't really that far away. And given the injury situations and how some of the results went last year, it's 4 wins that they need, 4 extra wins. Villa on 55, the Champions League places are at 67, and the Europa League places just 10 points away through West Ham. But they're really not that far away. And when you assess the transfer business, Aston Villa has done some very good work. What are some of the other signings in that bracket of clubs that pop out at you? I mean, there's Ben White at Arsenal. That's a good signing, an expensive one. But does anything else really jump off the page at you? And then you have to factor in a little bit of turmoil, too, at Everton, where they had a managerial change, new manager in at Spurs, and this Harry Kane thing lingering. Put it this way. Do you see Villa going backwards? Because I don't. We knew this was going to be an odd and challenging window because of the economic situation so many clubs are in. But I look around that group that Aston Villa is lumped with, and I'm not blown away by any of their business. In fact, I'm looking down the table a little bit and wondering, is there anybody down there that might surprise and come up? Crystal Palace, for example, is a really interesting one. They could be a surprise or a complete disaster under Patrick Vieira, but they've made some very good additions. One of the Achilles heels of Villa last year was their inability to pick up points against the top 4 to 6 teams. And also they had some trouble against the bottom 6 too. So this year they must find a way to get something from those games and avoid getting blanked from the newly promoted or the relegation fodder teams. And if they do that, there is no reason to think that they can't get those 4 extra wins that they needed last year in order to get into Europe. Games, glorious games. Finally, they're here. And on this show, I plan to recap each one with the Holy Trinity, the 3 things that defined each match, which I'll try to have out for you on Sundays or Mondays to give you a little bit of time to digest. On to Vicarage Road, on to the 2021-2022 season, and until then, up the mighty Villa.